What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Friday, April 12th, 2024. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host Phil for episode 275. Phil, I do have something to admit to start this episode. I bashed the solar eclipse a tad bit on Monday's show, and I will say I still saw absolutely nothing from my house. I know your brother was saying the same thing, that he couldn't see anything, so at least I wasn't. I felt like I was going crazy for a minute because I was claiming I couldn't see anything, and I'm getting pictures from all of you guys that were saying you got pictures and are seeing everything, and I was seeing absolutely nothing, didn't even know where I was supposed to be looking. But I will admit, when it got super dark and the temperature dropped quickly, and then it got bright very quickly, I will say that part was cool. But I saw nothing of the eclipse, so I am grading it a 7 out of 10 due to cloud cover.
I mean, I feel like it turned you from a hater, though, into at least appreciative of what it was. I mean, you were very negative and skeptical about the entire thing, and I think you would have enjoyed it more had you been able to see the eclipse at all. But yeah, I think that part kind of got overshadowed because we were in an area with totality, so people could really witness what the totality was. But the darkness and how quickly it happened and how just intensely, like you said, how cold it got. But I really didn't expect it to get that dark. Like, I knew enough information that it was going to get dark in general, and it was obviously a cloudy day, but I didn't expect it to be like somebody literally turned Earth's lights off completely. Obviously that is what it's like without the sun, but you don't expect that going from brightness to complete pitch black, dark, street lights turning on because they think it's too dark in a matter of seconds. I think that was one of the more interesting things about the whole experience, was like going from 99% coverage with that 1% of the sun still out there. It was still bright, and then within like 10 seconds, as you got to totality and 100% coverage, it just dropped so drastically to no sun, no light, and really cold. And I think you made a great observation. It was very scientifical. Oh my gosh, it's not even a word. Scientific. There we go. I don't even know what I was trying to go with the coal, but I think you made a great observation that if we ever lose the sun, we are in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, we kept our 3 dogs inside. We let them out like 2 o'clock just because they were giving the warnings of don't let your dogs look up in the sky. And I think they would have been fine at my house because you literally couldn't see anything. But we didn't want to like screw up their routine of thinking, oh, it's bedtime. So we kind of like kept them in like rooms that had the lights on and everything. So I just went outside, and it definitely did drop in temperature. And I did say that if the sun ever goes away, we're kind of in a lot of trouble. So there's that. It kind of put everything into perspective that if the sun ever just like says, hey, I'm done working for the day, we're done. Like, it's over. Like, I was standing outside, we mowed the lawn, I was in shorts and a t-shirt. And then like an hour later, it's like, oh, it's windy and it's cold and no birds are making a single sound. That was also creepy, that the animals just like knew, just go in a tree. Like, I was seeing them like doing circles and calling and everything, and then the sun goes down and they're just sitting in trees, not making a sound. And then 3 minutes later, they're buzzing around again. It was a interesting thing to be a part of. Would I have liked to see more of it? Yes, of course. Will I go out of my way to try to find another one? I'm good. I'm one and done. This was enough of an experience that I'm not going to seek out the next one that's like in Florida in like 21 years or something like that.
Yeah, luckily at our house, for the first hour that it kind of started, where you had the partial beginning of it, we didn't really see much. It was glimpses here and there through the clouds where we had to quickly throw our glasses on, and then sometimes it was still just too dark through the cloud cover where without glasses you could see a sliver, so we would take like really quick peeks because obviously you have to be careful of your eyesight, but with all the cloud cover and when you put the glasses on you couldn't see anything at all. So we were like, all right, if the glasses aren't showing any light, then we should in theory be okay to take really quick glimpses. So we did that every once in a while the clouds were still covering it, but not completely covered. I think they said like the high clouds were easier to see through, and I think that's kind of what we were going for. But as soon as totality hit, I was really worried because just a few minutes before that, it was, clouds had rolled in even more. And I was like, all right, we're just not going to be able to see totality. And that's going to be a bummer, but at least we got to see something. But for almost the entire 3 minutes of totality, we actually had a really good view of the entire kind of system and everything that happened. And it was still covered by clouds, but it was the really high clouds. So you could see through it. Like it wasn't perfect crystal clear, like the skies opened and it was blue and we could see it, but it was still very visible, not really blocked, but only blocked a little bit. So that was really cool. Did get to experience that, saw the little bit of the red corona that kind of shot out through the moon, and just got to be able to see the actual eclipse part of it. And then afterwards, as it was passing the sun, or the moon was passing the sun the other way, we got to see a little bit more of the eclipse actual action afterwards. And then I think maybe 20 minutes later, we got, I think, what you had the whole time, where I sent a picture to you guys and the cloud cover got really thick and I had no idea where the sun was at that point. I just sent a picture of where the sun used to be and how cloudy it got. And I was like, is this kind of what you guys were seeing the entire time? And you guys kind of all agreed. Like my brother didn't get to see it because he was up in Niagara County. I heard a few different people, including one of our friends in Pendleton. They couldn't find pretty much anything. And I had another person from work say that they were at Pendleton in that area and they also just didn't see much of anything. So pretty interesting that even in such a small area, the vast difference of what we were able to see and witness. But overall, like you said, really cool experience. Don't know if I will travel. I think it's 2044 or 41, somewhere in there. And
Yeah, I
yeah, I
heard
think
like 21 years away.
Orlando is the big one that people are saying Disney's going to be bumping for the eclipse, but it always rains there too, so who knows. But I know our other buddy down in Texas, he had a rainy day, so I don't think he got to witness much of it either. But for those that did get to witness it, it was a really cool event. And like you mentioned, though, super happy that we didn't have to go anywhere for it. And we could just literally, I sat in my backyard on my driveway with a couple of Adirondack chairs, some drinks, and just kind of chilled the whole afternoon. It was nice. It was a nice little time.
So if you had a better vantage point than me, let us know on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Phil's article dropped on Tuesday breaking down the victory for the Bandits over the Mammoth, and then my power rankings for Week 20 dropped on Thursday. Only one more week of that, Phil. And then look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. Let's start with Episode 3 of Real Bill, Fake Bill, Draft Edition. We're doing this on every show leading up to the draft on April 25th. Yes, this is our draft coverage breakdown because there's plenty of other shows that actually do the prospects, but what other shows give you past bills or fake bills? So we're going to see if Phil can guess, and all of you at home can play along with us and let us know what your score is currently if I'm beating you as well. What this game works out to be is I will give 5 names each show, and all Phil, and what you have to do at home is let me know if that person is a real Bill or a fake Bill. You get 1 point if you guess correctly, and you get a bonus point if you can tell me what year, what position, or what other career that person is. And you only get the bonus point opportunity is if you guess real or fake correctly. I'm going to keep track of scoring. Currently, I'm up 6-4 over Phil. So, Phil, are you ready for the third installment of Real Bill, Fake Bill?
I am pumped.
First name, Johnny Johnson.
I'm going fake.
That is correct. Would you like to take a guess on what his career is for a second bonus point?
Johnny Johnson, a.k.a. JJ. You do like your politicians, but I have no idea. I guess we'll go politician just because it's such a blanket statement. I don't know what else to go with.
This one was not actually a politician. He is the inventor. Man, I screwed that part up. He is the inventor of the Super Soaker.
I was waiting for it to be another inventor, but I had nothing in my mind of what they could have invented. But I mean, super soakers are pretty great. So thank you to Johnny Johnson for inventing them.
Good old JJ with the Super Soaker. JJSS. There you go. Phil, name number 2. You've got 1 point so far. Michael Jasper.
Real.
Phil, you are killing this round
He
of
actually
Real
sounded
Bill, Fake
familiar.
Bill. And if he sounds familiar, what position or what year?
I'm going to go safety.
Incorrect. You couldn't be further away. He was a 2011 7th round pick, 245th overall defensive tackle from Bethel. And I believe he was the one that was like benching like 7,000 pounds or something like that.
That's a lot of pounds.
Yeah,
I don't think
a lot
that's
of pounds,
humanly possible,
a lot of
but
man.
that's all right.
All right. Name number 3. You're going 2 for 2 so far. Can you push it to 3 to 3? Colby Listenby.
Real.
Oh, Phil is 3 for 3. Pulls ahead of the lead, Phil. Bonus point opportunity.
Oof. Tight end.
You're in the right area.
Dang.
2016 6th rounder, 192 wide receiver from TCU.
I was close.
All right, Phil, here we go. Leon Coffey.
Oh, man. This is what I'm overthinking. Like, I feel like Coffee as a last name is a setup for a fake. I'm going to go real.
I gotcha. He is a fake Bill. He is the world famous rodeo clown for over 30 years with 8 PRCA Clown of the Year awards. And yes, he was at the rodeo I was at in Houston, Texas.
What do you search to find these fakes?
Why would I tell you that? I don't give up my secrets. There's plenty of more weeks I got to come up with names here.
No, you're really dipping into your hypothetical history research abilities here.
Oh yeah. All right, Phil. Our score is 3-1. Let's see if I can close the gap a little bit here. Kevin Seymour.
Real.
And Phil goes 4-1 on the day. Can he get a 5th bonus point here?
I don't know why. I really still want to go cornerback or safety. Seymour. I'm going to go cornerback. I have no idea.
Nailed it.
Oh.
That's your first bonus point. 2016 6th rounder, 218 cornerback from USC.
Wow. What a big day for me.
It was a huge day. Phil takes the commanding lead 9-7.
Wow. Big 2-point swing in the other way. That's big. I mean, by the end of this, I assume you are going to crush me still, but I'll take one good day. One good episode. I'll take.
It's a massive day for you. The only one you got wrong was the rodeo clown, Phil. I don't know how you didn't name that one.
Yeah, it's true. I have yet to be to my first rodeo, so I cannot say that old-timey saying because I have
still a bad joke.
Not been to my first rodeo, and I did not see Mr. Coffee live.
Well, thank you all and Phil for playing the 3rd installment of Real Bill, Fake Bill. I'm going to come back with a vengeance on Monday's show because I do not like losing at this game and going 5.
The biggest thing for me is that to me, I'm not really fighting you because I assume you're going to beat me, but I'm really going after producer Pat, who is quietly playing in the background. I feel like this is a big episode for me to take a lead on him. I think he's struggling a little bit more than I am, so we'll see how he does with this episode. But I think I could take a big jump in the leaderboard for him at least. Yeah,
I got to figure out what he did last week. I don't think he actually gave us an update of how he did last show. So
post the totals.
We'll find out. But yeah, he was 1 of 5 in week 1. So I'll find out what he was, and we'll get a grand total of what producer Pat is doing because we're recording something special for the end of the month. We'll tease that a little bit later on in the show. But Phil, let's move on, and we'll go over day number 4 of Real Bill, Fake Bill on Monday's show. And I'm coming back real angry. So let's go over Buffalo Sabres. Phil, The drought is now a teenager. They lost 3-2. Tuck and Dallin were the goal scorers. UPL 22 of 25 saves. Shots were 25-21 for Dallas. With this loss, it is now the 13th straight season of missing playoffs.
Congratulations to the Sabres. I know they have worked really hard for this goal, and it showed throughout the season on the ice what they were able to do and what they were able to accomplish. Getting semi close, and then when getting close and in the range of playoffs, they did a great job fighting hard to lose really, really important games and not be able to string any wins together. It's not easy. Going 13 straight seasons without playoffs.
When half the league makes it.
It's pretty difficult what they were actually able to accomplish if you really think about it. Like you just mentioned, the COVID season when even more teams made it and they still missed. And in general, like you just said, half of the league makes playoffs. And to be able to go 13 straight years, it's really a true accomplishment that is not easy to do. Overall, really depressing black cloud time to be a Sabres fan. And I know we are older than 26, and I was going to say still about half our lifetime, though, because you figure, you don't really remember too much from your 4, 5, maybe 6, 7-year-old years. So early in our lives, I don't think when I was 1, I really remember much of what the Sabres were doing, let alone the Bills in their heyday. I don't really remember them going to any Super Bowls when I was just a wee lad. But I would say for the majority of our lives and pretty much our entire adult life, for the most part, the Sabres have just not made the playoffs. And for us as just Buffalo Bills or Buffalo sports fans, I mean, we went 17 years of watching the Bills not make playoffs, and now you got 13 with the Sabres. Our adult lives of just being a Buffalo sports fan has been overall depressing.
You could have just said Buffalo our whole lives of being Buffalo fans, because it's not like it was a super big overlap. Like there was the time between 2012 to Bills made it in 2017. So like a 5-year gap. Otherwise, the Bills were like late 90s, and then
Right.
the Bills or the Sabres now. So it's pretty much been the majority of our life. One or the other team has just been in one of these all-time record-setting droughts.
Right. It's great. It's great for us. It gives us a lot to talk about. We're pumped to discuss the Sabres on an episode by episode basis. Really have a lot of hope for the future for this team, and I cannot wait to see what their offseason has in store for us or something.
Yeah, I mean, I counted them for dead a while ago, so this isn't super annoying or shocking
This
to
time
me,
it hit, though.
because
I mean, last time
it
you counted the
definitely
Bills.
officially
You
hit,
counted the
yeah.
Bills for dead, and they came back
They
from
turned
the
it around,
grave.
yeah.
They turned it around, but the Sabres, you counted
They
out,
teased
and
me.
it didn't work. It didn't work. I mean, you tried to throw some life into them by calling them dead early, hoping they would turn it around like the Bills did, but they did not. They stayed dead, and that is what they've done for a while.
Yeah, I mean, 8th time in the drought, the Sabres have not won more than 4 games in a row. Yeah, that's pretty bad. 13th straight season before Terry came along. Yeah, Terry, I'm not even calling you Mr. Pagula or Terry Pagula. You're just Terry. You haven't earned a last name yet. Team had missed 11 of 40. That was before Terry came along. So they've officially missed more playoff seasons than they did the entire time before Terry bought the team. Their last playoff game, Phil, where were you April 26th of 2011? Because I was like a year out of high school and just finishing up my freshman year of college. That's where I was. Like I couldn't even drink yet. Like I was 19. Like I went through my entire 20s and I'm into my 30s without seeing a Buffalo Sabres playoff game. What's more annoying here I'm not going to go on this whole big rant about everything because I've already done that. I'm dead inside. I don't care anymore. My thing is, it's always something new. Like every time I think we're at rock bottom, it keeps digging deeper. And I know the team's not at rock bottom. I understand that there's pieces. It's just a huge, massive letdown year because, not speaking word for word, but Kevin Adams pretty much said it's playoffs or bust this year, and you busted big time, and the casino kicked you out because you lost too much money. This time, Tage Thompson pretty much said you let the outside noise affect them, which shouldn't be shocking because they let booing on the home ice affect them, so they didn't raise their sticks to the crowd anymore. I am so glad, Phil, that this organization brought back such leadership in Kyle Oposo and Zemgus Girgensons, and they brought in Eric Johnson, and they brought in all these veterans to tie this group together and lead them to the playoffs, and they literally just let outside noise affect them. Like they said it word for word. Tage Thompson said they let outside noise get in their heads and affect their game. This team is so mentally weak. They lost 2 games against Detroit. That both games, if they would have taken it, they would have been back in the race. And they scored 1 goal in both of those. I applauded Kevin Adams for signing these players early to get a discount on those deals. And I said at the time, I agree with this because this is how you take a team from being good to great, because you get good players on good deals before they turn great and demand more money. I still believe that was the right decision to do. And I still believe that is the right decision to turn and become a great team. My thing is, I don't know if you paid the right players. Dylan Cousins, Dylan Cousins and Peyton Krebs, since they traded Casey Middlestad and you lost that go-to top point producing forward, they have combined for 2 goals in 17 games since Casey Middlestad got traded. And I'm not saying that was a bad trade. I'm not saying it was a good trade. That's still out, and the jury has to decide. But it's just, he's making $7 million. He's one of the highest paid players on your team, and he's stunk this year. You have to question in this offseason, is he a center? Do you try to package him with somebody else to ship him out the door and get that money off your books? Like, is Dylan Cousins the player that we saw last year? Is this a one-off? Is this the true Dylan Cousins that you're going to be seeing? Is this just all because Don Granato has been struggling as head coach? Is it because of the power play? There's so many unanswered questions, and I just don't know if they're going to use this offseason to address it, because you got a lot of the core signed. Not a ton of moves are being made unless you make these big time moves, and those don't happen in hockey very often. It's just, I don't know where this team goes from here, and I can't see Terry eating the money of the extension. So is there going to be a change in the assistant coaches? Probably. I can see 1 or 2 of them not coming back. But is Don Granato going to be coming back? I'm pretty sure they're going to think this is a one-off. They're going to rebound, bring in Kulik, Rosine, and Savoy, and just run this thing back. And I don't know where to go from here. And I know we got a whole off season to think about it and talk about it, but it's just more dead inside again. Like I'm last off season we were looking forward to the season, and I'm regretting every word I said about this is a team that could break the drought.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go a ton more into it, especially because I did on the last episode kind of explained exactly where we're at just as a Sabres community, that this was the year. This was, I mean, the year before they had that, that explosion toward the end of the season. They were super close to playoffs. They were in a race. They had meaningful games. Everything was exciting. The players said they cared and they loved playing, and they wanted that feeling again. They didn't even want to go into the off season. They were pumped. They just wanted to get right back on the ice. And then this season happened, and none of that kind of followed, and everything fell apart. And like you mentioned, I don't see any way they don't just simply run this back and hope somehow it's going to change. And one of the biggest issues from last season was no goaltending, and then UPL came in the second half of the season from January on and played incredible, and you still couldn't really rally nearly enough behind his incredible end of season run to really make a good push. Like you mentioned, 2 critical games, they scored 1 goal in each of those games. That's not going to get you a victory. I don't know. I don't really know where you go from here. And kind of what you were saying about Granato's extension and the money. I mean, how much did they lose with he who should not be named? I mean, how much money did they pay him to leave? So I feel like they're not going to be willing to lose that kind of money again on a head coach. So I assume Granato's going to be back. I assume they're simply going to run it back, like you said, with these young players. I would love to see them make some kind of big move just because I'm itching for anything, but at the same time, I don't see them doing much. I assume they will run it all back and hope that these players that had really off seasons just rebound to their career years from a year before, and they'll see that as what they're going to focus on. They're going to focus on, what happened the season before and look how close we were, look how great our offense was. So we don't need to make any moves. Our defense, we added more pieces. They're looking great. UPL's looking great. We just need the offense to return to what it did a season ago, and everything will be great again. And I don't see any of that happening, but it'll be a long, long off season of really no hope. I don't know. I don't know where to go with this team anymore.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I could just keep repeating everything I've said before, that you kind of kissed a whole generation of fans away, that when people are mad, it's a good thing because they still care. You lost all that. Like there's no getting back. This was the season to buy back a bunch of fans' trust and everything like that. And again, I'm not saying this team is as bad as we might even be saying it is. They're still going to be an 80-point team. They're still got some good pieces on this team. It's not in a horrible, horrible position
They're not last in the
like it
league, but
was
they're in the worst. They're what the Bills were for so long, where you're sitting
middling team.
9-7, or 8-9, or whatever, 9-8, or oh my gosh, 9-7 and 8-8, where you're just not. You're an okay team winning some random games, but not enough to make playoffs, and that's exactly where the Sabres are. And like you said, I think we both agree there's some pieces, there's some young talent, there's some excitement about the talent on the team, but is this team, what they have right now on paper and the way they perform this season, going to get you to the playoffs next year? I don't think either of us see that happening. I see them as another middle of the road, finishing in between 19, 20, 21, 22 in the league, which sure, you're not last, but you're still missing playoffs and not a great team, and you're definitely not an exciting top 10 team fighting for an actual Stanley Cup. And we're not even trying to discuss a Stanley Cup at all. We're just trying to crawl into playoffs. And even if they got blown out, we just want to be in the playoffs again. And they can't even come remotely that close to accomplishing that either. So that's fun.
Yeah, my only main thing was I understand what position they're in. I don't even care. Like you came in, it was playoffs or bust. Your GM said it was playoffs or bust, and it didn't happen. So everybody has the perfect right to just blast this team into oblivion because they came up short. They're soft. They're soft mentally and they're soft physically on the ice. How do you come into this game knowing that if you lose, you're completely done and just choke? Like it was a joke. They didn't play hard enough, and I think this team is just mentally soft. And you brought back your leadership that was supposed to pass this great mindset on to the next generation, and it didn't happen. And I'm kind of just I'm waiting for these next 3 games to be done so we can slowly put this team to bed for a while, and I don't even have to think about them. But then the lottery, and they're going to win the lottery, and then we're going to have more high expectations. I'm going to promise to everybody out there, I'm going into next season with my expectations at the bare minimum. I'm not being fooled again. It's not happening. So Phil, let's go into happy cause here. Our first sponsor read of the show, Tap That Tap Room. Phil, kick it off.
Tap That Tap Room is at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. They are Buffalo's first women-owned Southport bar featuring 30 consistently rotating taps. And how it works is you go to any of those taps that are there, you pay for your glass, and then you get a kind of a tab that starts up, and you can have either 1 ounce or a full glass as much as you want. And when I was there for the 1-year anniversary, I had a peach mango cider from Downey Cider House. It was excellent, and I only had a little bit of it to start, see how it was. It was really good, and I went back for a full glass afterwards.
So this Friday, after the show, when you're done listening to it, you can head down there because they have a Parks and Rec trivia. It kicks off at 7:30. It's brought to you by Geeks Who Drink Pub and Quizzes. Phil, I am a big time Parks and Rec fan. I am not a big time trivia guy because I don't pick up on all the small nuances of what you need to be really good at these trivia, but I would definitely sit and listen to it because I love the show. I know we have Peacock, so I've been watching it in the background, falling asleep to it. And then Saturday, they do have their Bandits watch party starting at 7:30. So if you were not one of the lucky 19,000 plus fans to get a seat, you can head down there. They played the volume loud enough where you can hear it, but you can still talk to your people next to you. And like Phil said, you can just find out what your new favorite drink is there. So you can check out their Facebook page for all their posted events or go to tapthattaproom.com. Phil, let's dive into the Buffalo Bandits' final home game, possibly final home game of the rest of the season, depending on how playoffs shake out. Saturday at 7:30, it is Fan Appreciation Night, and Phil, there is a what do you call it? A thing standing in the room here.
An elephant.
Elephant in the room. That's it. How did I forget that one of the biggest mammals in the world? Elephant in the room. Yeah. The ring debacle. I do not feel sorry for anybody out there that is complaining nonstop about these replica rings and that you have more than 2 people on your season ticket account. This has been going on for years and years and years and years and years and years. It's nothing new. What you can do is just go to account services and break those apart. We did it a few years ago, and guess what? You're entered into so many more opportunities to win things. This organization owes you nothing. Do they love your fandom? Do they love you selling out the arena nonstop? 100%. But to think that you're entitled to any free things from this organization, I am the first one to stand up and criticize this organization, the Sabres, the Bills, so on and so forth. Because when you need to be put on blast, you get put on blast. I can't put them on blast for this because it's such a cool idea that they did. Could they have done it better? Maybe. Maybe they could have adjusted it where they said, hey, you get a replica ring per tickets on your account. They could have done that, sure. But maybe they don't want to because they want to keep these things small and neat. Because, I mean, honestly, I don't even know how right I should feel about getting a replica ring for something that I had almost nothing to do with earning it. You know what I mean? Like, it almost, I'm not saying it taints the specialty of like what the players got, because obviously there's these real rings and this is just going to be a replica. But you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
like touching the Stanley Cup or any of those kind of things, like holding the Lombardi trophy or something like that. Like, I didn't earn it. Like, there's nothing in me that contributed to anything that happened there. So I'm honestly going to get one. I'm going to be at the shoot around. So don't get me wrong. I'm still going to get the free thing because it's free. Everybody loves free things. But like, I feel a little weird about it, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. It's doesn't really belong to me. I didn't do anything to earn it. So it's just like a replica. It's probably just going to go sit down in the basement where all of the other stuff currently is hanging up. But I think that people are making too big of a deal about this. I think they make too big of a deal about the specialty jerseys. It's just like, if you make too many of them, it takes away the specialness of it. So, get what you get, man. Like, they don't owe you anything. That's kind of where I'm at.
And also, I mean, I don't know how many times they've discussed it, and I mean, it's pretty obvious when you look at the NLL. It's a small league. It's as much as we love to, I mean, it is a professional league. I'm not trying to take that away from it. The players do make money, but we know they don't make a lot. There are not a lot of teams in the league, and sure, it's growing, and it's, great to see them on ESPN Plus, and things are going in the right direction for sure, but it's still a very small league, and for them to want to give anything that is free is money that they are spending on you that they don't have to. It's they're getting nothing in return for giving you a replica ring. They could say, okay, whatever money we made from this game or this season, we're going to pocket it for this small organization that needs money to do anything. And for them to go out of their way to give even one per account, and then, offer secondary ones for a little bit of money, which even I don't know what the replica ring is going to actually, be like, or what it's going to be made of or anything like that. But the amount of money you had to pay for the second one you could get wasn't astronomical by any means. It wasn't, a ton of money. So I think that's still nice for them to even offer the opportunity to buy one more. But the fact that they're giving even one per account for free is something they don't have to do. And I know we love to joke at the amount of terrible towels we've gotten for playoffs, because it's something very simple that the organization can do for each playoff game. But I mean, it's better than getting nothing. And I know some other organizations do, a little bit better, or they have more interesting opportunities or giveaways at times, but that's what their organization's doing, and that's not what
They
Buffalo has
they
to do.
also
And
do that because they are trying to get fans
right,
in the door.
right.
Like the Bandits don't have to
The Bandits have
because
probably, I mean, not knowing off the top of my head, but I'm sure they have more season ticket holders and accounts than most teams get seats filled
fans,
for,
yeah,
right?
yep.
Not season ticket holders, just in general for a single home game. The Bandits probably have more season ticket holder accounts than fans that come to other away games in general. So I don't know. I'm agreeing with you. I mean, the fact that I know it was teased a long time ago by Scott Loeffler in one of the Facebook groups that
I saw that too.
they
Yeah, I was like,
were,
"There's no way."
yeah, that they were looking into replica rings. That was probably like mid-season. It was a long time ago, and that just kind of died
Yeah,
off. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Didn't really think about it until this showed up, and I was like, oh, they were serious. This is something they're doing. That's pretty awesome. So I don't know any other. I mean, not that I followed what Colorado did when they wanted, or Calgary did what they wanted, but I would have to imagine that other organizations aren't throwing replica rings out there.
Georgia did when they
Okay.
won it, but they only gave it to season ticket holders who had 4 or more tickets on their account. So, yeah, you could have been in that situation. My only thing here, and then I'm done with the subject. I think somebody asked in our group chat earlier, "Hey, it's fan appreciation night. What do you think you're going to get?" And I jokingly said, "It's just going to be another team pitcher." Man, this is awesome. Like
Right.
this is what kind of stinks, that no matter what they would have done, there would have been people that
Oh,
complained.
for
Like if
sure.
every single season ticket holder would have gotten one of these ones, every other fan in the crowd would have
Right.
complained that they
Right.
didn't get one. And when people are complaining that, hey, season ticket holders get nothing, here's something you get,
Right.
and there's still complaints.
Right.
Like you're darned if you do and darned if you don't. So this is one of those ones that I'm actually on the side of the organization. This is a really, really cool thing that they're doing. It's something that a lot of other organizations will never have the opportunity to do for their fans, because none of them are in positions to be run like the Buffalo Bandits and be in position to win a title. And if you don't win a title, you can't get a replica ring. So just, take what you get, move on. And I know my words are going to fall on deaf ears, because they're going to complain that I'm just, a Bandits blind believer. And obviously they haven't listened to the show for the last 3 years, because I'm as least on that side as you could probably possibly be.
But I mean, we give credit when credit is due, and even
Yep.
to start the season, the mini banners we thought were going to be something kind of goofy or
Amazing.
super small, and they ended up being a really cool mini championship banner that I have hanging behind me. I mean, those ended up being really nice, and even the little jerseys that they did recently that were signed, I
Yep.
thought those were really cool. I know you had to pay for them, but I thought it was just something unique that was different than just the lacrosse ball. They did the ornament at one point throughout the year, so I thought this year they've done actually a really nice job of offering different unique things to the fans, including the
100%.
special jerseys, even if it is a limited run. I mean, I have that I got last year. I stood in line for a really long time for the St. Patrick's Day jersey. And like you mentioned, like yeah, it's unfortunate everyone can't get one, and I was very lucky to get one, but at the same time, that's what makes it so unique when you see somebody wearing
100%.
that in the arena. And my main jersey that I have, I extremely rarely come across anyone else wearing it because it was, I mean, now it's super old and nobody even knows what an all-star game in the NLL is, but it was just, it's very rare to have, and there weren't a lot of them out at the time, and now I'm one of the very few that have it, and same with the St. Patrick's Day one. So yes, they're rare and hard to get, but if you really, really, really want one, you'll probably find a way to get one, and the people that do have it can cherish it kind of that much more. But really excited to see what the replica ring is all about, and can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I won't be wearing it because again, it's such a weird thing, and I
No,
know
it
that
is.
I probably shouldn't feel weird about it, but it's just like
I think
it's one of those
it's
things.
the athlete in you.
Yeah, yeah, I think yeah, I 100%. I think it's the athlete in me that you know, if you weren't a part of it, I don't really feel. And again, everybody's gonna feel differently. I might just be one of those odd ones in it. I just feel weird about getting something like that. Again, I'm gonna take it because it's free and it's a pretty cool thing to get,
I'll display
and
it.
it's like a collector's item kind of thing.
Right.
But it's one of those things that hey, if they handed out like replica Stanley cups, would you go get one? Nah,
Right.
no. It's like the replica trophies for the NLL that the Bandits won, and people are making like replicas ones. I don't feel right about it. I know it's probably just going to be this like replica ring, but it's one of those things in me. Like even playing varsity basketball, like I didn't play a ton of minutes, but we won the banner. I honestly didn't feel super involved in that because I didn't play in a ton of games. And then people are saying, okay, but what you do in practice, you ran some of the starters, you increase them. So I get that part of it. Like it's like asking if you're in the practice squad and your team wins the Super Bowl, how involved do you think you
Right.
should be? But they're in practice. They're running the starters. They're on the practice squad and doing that kind of stuff. It's just I feel a certain way about it. So I guess we can move on from that one. But go over and over the preview here. First time since 2021, the home opener in that year, December 4th to be exact. Buffalo has not faced Calgary since then, but Buffalo's coming in 9-7, Calgary 7-9. Buffalo can clinch a spot with the victory, and they lose, they cannot clinch a spot because Calgary will be right on their tail and a head-to-head advantage. So this was a very important game. Buffalo's coming in first in the league in goal scoring, 13.06. Calgary 10th in the league, 11.25. Goals against, different story for both teams. Buffalo's 12th in the league, 12.5. Calgary down in fourth. Well, I should say up in fourth, 10.69.
Yeah, these two teams are built very
Polar
differently,
opposites.
and a lot of it, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of teams are not very evenly built. It seems like in
Agreed.
the
Yep.
NLL, you're one or the other or neither. There's the bad teams that just are kind of bad, but then there's teams like Buffalo this year for sure is offense dominated, defense is struggling to catch up. Even a team like Toronto that seems like they are one of the more balanced teams in the league really isn't that great at offense, but their offense is consistent. They don't have insanely high
Right.
scoring numbers, but they're consistent. But their defense is what really kind of brings that whole team together so they can average 11 or 12 goals while their defense only gives up nine. And that is just a consistent way to win. But even them, I would say they're one of the more evenly, created teams. And I would still say they're very defensively dominant. So a team like this, like
100%.
Calgary, you called them out in the beginning of the year preseason that they just don't have the offensive firepower you were looking for to make them a really big contender, but their defense is really good and Del Bianco is pretty incredible as a goaltender and their transition is really good. So if they were ever able to find a way, and I was kind of mentally imagining this before we discussed all this, if like their team had a Dane or a Josh or both, what their team could actually look like if they had more of a complete team, but they don't. They have a few really solid offensive players. They're not, nothing. They aren't. They won't be able to score at all kind of situation, but they're definitely built from the back and transition forward, and their offense is struggling.
Yeah, I mean they keep losing players. Dane Doby left a few years ago. Then it was Curtis Dixon that left, and they've gotten bit by the bug of people and players just leaving. I mean Jesse King was there in 2021. Hayden Dixon, I believe, was a rookie that year, and Tanner Cook as well. And then Christian Del Bianco, obviously. But there's not a ton of players still on that team from the 2021 season, at least as far as the impact players for the forward group. And then Buffalo, that was Nanakoke's rookie year. You had Buchanan first year. Kluch was there, Frazier, Burns, Smith. So a lot of Buffalo is still there, obviously, because, they were in every final since this team faced off. But, a little revenge for the 2019 finals that Calgary won. But Phil, before we dive into the players, let's go over our second sponsor, Mr. Sizzles.
Scrolled the wrong way again. Our second sponsor is Mr. Sizzles at 346 Connecticut Street in Buffalo, New York. They are open 7 days a week, 11 to 11, with a new brunch menu on Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3.
So not only can you get one of, if not the city's best burgers, they have a full bar inside. And if, once again, you cannot go to the game because it is completely sold out, you can go to Mr. Sizzles to watch the game. And while you're there, might as well order the Great Dane sandwich, which, they partnered with Dane Smith to create. It's a fried chicken with hot honey, chipotle sauce, crispy onions, avocado, and pepper jack cheese on a brioche bun. Phil had it. He said it was absolutely delicious. But yeah, it might be a little competing time between our two sponsors. Who gets more fans to watch the game there? Is it going to be Tap That Tap Room or Mr. Sizzles?
Or if our fans are really willing, just pack them both and everybody has a great time.
Switch at halftime.
It's a bit of a drive between the two, but I do love the halftime switch. It is supposed to be a little bit chilly, not quite as scorching hot as these last couple of days have been. So I don't know if you're going to be in the biggest mood for a milkshake, but I did also have a milkshake while I was there, and it is incredible. You can also check out the rest of their menu on their Facebook, Instagram, or at MrSizzles.com.
So, Phil, let's dive into the players here. Haven't seen this team in over or close to 3 years, I should say. So let's dive into the righties here. Josh Courier, number 21. Hayden Dixon, number 97. Thomas Hogarth, a former Buffalo Bandit, number 91. And then Tyler Pace, number 68. For the lefties, Tanner Cook, number 12. Jesse King, their big point producer, number 19. And Dan Taylor, the more forgotten man back there, number 26.
Yeah, they definitely still have the big guys. I mean, most teams in this league have one or two that are really, really good still. And the Calgary Roughnecks here have Jesse King, who has 94 points. He is still the guy on this team. He's definitely their leader. And, I mean, 94 is a lot of points. So, again, they might not have the best offense, but they do still have players you absolutely have to lock down. And I think the Bandits' defense, with it getting healthy, I think a lot of the players that have come back more recently are their lockdown defenders. Martin coming back from injury, Bomberry coming back, and then Dawson kind of working his way in. I think he's also a pretty solid lockdown defender. So this could be an interesting game to see if the Bandits kind of really lock on to somebody like King or Tyler Pace. They're kind of their team leaders, one on each side of the floor. See if they really kind of put that one guy on them kind of situation where they really just try to man up and lock those two players down, because outside of that, they have a few players who can still shoot and score and do decently with Tanner Cook and Hayden Dixon, but it's just not, if you can lock those top two down, this team is going to struggle to score.
Yeah, I mean, this team has definitely, and I've wrote it in my articles week to week, where I can't remember exactly the number, and I think it was 11, where they were undefeated except for the one Rochester game, I believe, where they were undefeated when they scored 11 or more. And I can't remember how many games. I wish I would have went back and counted. They have so many games. I think it's 6 or 7 that are in single digit scoring. This team has just struggled to put the ball in the back of the net. And yes, I did say them and Panther City were the two teams that I were saying that a lot of media personalities and content creators were saying that those two teams were destined for the playoffs. And yes, both of them could be making the playoffs, but I think those those people were also thinking that they would be higher up in the standings, and both of them are just fighting for those last two spots in the playoffs. So I definitely think they have talent, and Tyler Pace and Jesse King are the two main guys, and they're the lefty righty matchup that you have to worry about. And I've been saying it for weeks. The kind of player you have to keep an eye on, Hayden Dixon, number 97. He's got 42 points, 25 of them are goals. I think he would be the one that, if this team is able to get up and over 11, 12, 13 goals, he's going to have a big game. And if he's having a big game, I think that's because Jesse King's setting him up. So you got to stay out of the box for this team. This is a type of team that will struggle to score. And you saw that last week versus Colorado. You gave them too many opportunities on the power play, and 4 of those 11 goals came on the power play. If Buffalo is able to stay out of the box, Calgary is definitely going to have a tough time putting the ball behind the net, especially when you have Matt Vince, who's playing some of his best lacrosse of this year, these last few games. So if you can lock it down, play smart defensively, and don't give this team opportunities to score on special teams, I think you should be able to control this game and be a good stepping stone further on than you already have been defensive wise. And then you got Vegas the following week. So this could be a good, and Phil, don't hurt me for stealing your line here. This could be a good tune-up game for the defense these next 2 weeks as you're getting ready for the playoffs. This could be a good week for the defense to get right, work on communication, because it's not like they have a big time go-to goal scorer on this team. You just got Tyler Pace and Jesse King to worry about, and then a couple other secondary pieces. But let's dive into the transition and defense. Your boy, who you really haven't talked about much this year, but I think that's obvious when we haven't really faced them, and Calgary hasn't been a super big threat up in the standings. Zach Currier, number 77, still having a solid year. Jeff Cornwall, yeah, that name still hurts. Eli Salama, number 13. Harrison Matsuka, number 18. Liam LeClaire, number 23. The man you really, 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 really have to worry about in transition is Shane Simpson, number 22. And then, I'm not sure exactly who's going to be taking the faceoffs here, Phil, because you got 3 guys that have been. Justin Inacio, he is on the IR right now. I think he was doubtful last week, but he is their main faceoff man, 42%. Otherwise, it's Salama and Courier. So I'm not really sure who they're going to be. It's kind of like the Buffalo Bandits pre-Connor Farrell, where it's not a super big guy, but this could be a 70 to 80% win faceoff percentage for Connor Farrell on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think if anyone needs kind of a get-right game, it might be Farrell himself. I know toward the end of last game, I think you said he had a few pretty big victories toward the end of the game, but for the most part, he's been struggling pretty much 3-ish games in a row, and one of them wasn't against anybody all that important on the other side, so he could also use a really big get-right game. And Courier's just a incredible defensive player. I mean, you see all of his numbers up there. Is face-off percentage is not great, but his 29 caused turnovers are among the best in the league, and just a incredible player. Love him a lot, him and the goalie, which we'll get to in a little bit. But their transition game is a lot of what their offense is. I mean, their offense, and you see pretty much weekly highlights. I think this last week for the top 5 in the NLL, there were 2 because they had 2 games last weekend. There were 2 plays straight from Christian Del Bianco to a transition player who buried the goal. So it's just a lot of what this team is built on is solid goaltending, solid defending, and a great transition game. I mean, Del Bianco is 9th on their team in points with 18 assists. His ability to scoop up the ball and pass it pretty much perfectly to a guy sprinting way down the field is incredible. And I don't really think there's anyone who does it better in the league as far as goaltenders go. So just a huge thing to watch out for the Bandits. Luckily for the Bandits, they have done a really, really nice job the entire season, taking out a lot of the transition goals. I know last game, it was transition, but it wasn't transition in the way that Calgary scores. It was defensive players not really getting on the floor quick enough, which you kind of mentioned might have been the offense not getting off quick enough. So not going to blame the defense, but a few times it was just the slow reaction of the defense getting onto the floor, whereas the transition goals that Calgary scores are more just sprinting one on. A guy, quickly gets to the bench, the guy goes out the back door and away he goes. So not really the same kind of defensive breakdowns we saw last week, where some of the transition-ish goals where they very quickly had a guy sprint on the field and score, but the whole team was pretty much there. Calgary does it a little bit differently, where it's just one-on-one and launched from Del Bianco, but absolutely something you have to look out for. But the defense in general, you see a lot of caused turnovers up there. You see a lot of loose balls up there. They have a solid defense, so it's going to be a big battle for the offense, but the offense has yet to really be stopped other than the ridiculous stretches they like to go on of not scoring. But outside of that, they're still scoring at the end of the game, the score looks good.
Yeah, if Calgary is able to put up 12, 13, 14 goals, and really that's the only way I think they're going to be able to defeat Buffalo in this game, is if Buffalo gets in penalty trouble and if they can't control the transition game. And you said it perfectly. Buffalo's been able to cover the transition game. The forward's been doing a great job of getting back and causing those turnovers, but you haven't ran into a transition team quite like Calgary. And Shane Simpson, if you can bet on over under of goals and his is under 1, I would take the over. He's got 16 on the year. Him and Christian Del Bianco have just a weird connection that works so well. And he is the one player that can absolutely carry this team on his back and cause chaos with this Buffalo Bandits transition defense. So if there's one player you really got to target on the defense and always know where he is, if the ball's turned over, if there's a loose ball in the corner, if there's a quick save, it's where is Shane Simpson, number 22. Make sure you know where he is, because he always likes to sneak out the back door. But the main reason this team is even 7-6 right now is in net, and it's Christian Del Bianco. He might be 7-6, but these numbers are ridiculous. Once again, 10.48 goals against and an 80 save percentage, and he is the reigning defending MVP and goaltender of the year for a reason. Not only is he unbelievable between the pipes, but his vision to get the ball in that transition game, he is the leader of that transition, goal scoring mentality for the Calgary Roughnecks.
Again, just go back to NLL's Instagram and watch the top 5 from last week. He is 2
Ridiculous.
of them with his just incredible outlet passes. I wasn't thrilled that he got goaltender of the year and MVP, but he was really, really good last year and deserved both. And like you mentioned, his stats, he's really not having a bad year by any means. I mean, 7-9 for their team records, not great. It doesn't really reflect what he's been able to do. I mean, under 11 goals against, and any time an NLL goalie, in my opinion, has a 80% or higher save percentage, that is really, really good. I mean, usually you see even 78, 79% looks really good in the NLL. Anything below that, you're starting to get a little bit more average or not so great, but 80% and above is just pretty much, to me, an elite goaltender, and he has that right now. So it's going to be tough for the Bandits offense. And again, they really just have not been able to be shut down too often this season. And even an incredible goalie like Nick Rose, they've had his number twice this year. So I'm not overly concerned about the ability for the offense to score, but at the same time, their defense is good. Christian Del Bianco is really good. And we've seen a few goalies throughout the year stand on their heads and lead their team to victory, with Dobson and I don't know why, Demude. There
Nick
it is.
Demude.
I would say I'm blanking on his name, but both of those goalies both start with their last name start with D, and now we got Del Bianco. So they have been able to
pattern.
What?
You found the pattern.
Yeah. Don't play a goalie with the last name of starts with the letter D and you'll be okay. But we have seen 2 goalies this year just absolutely stand on their head and lead their team to victory, where otherwise they really shouldn't have won that game. And that's not necessarily meaning that the offense performed badly in that game. I think in both of those games, we liked what the offense was able to do. Just that goalie was incredible that game and had, a game of their entire career. And Del Bianco's the kind of guy that if he gets locked in and he's seeing everything really well, then he's the kind of guy that can absolutely steal a win. So with a team like Calgary that is desperate to stay in the playoff race, and like you mentioned, if they win, it's a massive swing where it kind of knocks the Bandits down, raises them up, and then they have that head-to-head. So really, really, really big game. I know we've been excited that the Bandits have won 4 of the last 5, and we're excited that they're 9-7 and have kind of pushed themselves ahead in that playoff gap, but this is the kind of game that can bring you right down into the cluster of teams that either will or will not make playoffs. So this is a really, really big game for the Bandits, and it is for Calgary as well, who's trying to fight to get into a playoff position. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be a really, really tough game. And I think a lot of it, like we mentioned very, very often, if the Bandits can start hot and stay out of the box, I think those are going to be two huge keys to winning.
So, Phil, what is your prediction for game 17 on the schedule? First time facing Calgary since 2021 and looking to get a little bit more revenge for the 2019 game.
I am going to go 12-10 Bandits victory.
I almost went 12-10. I almost repeated what I said last week because it almost worked, but it didn't. So I got to switch it up a little bit. I am with you, though. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think combined they'll get to 20, but I think it'll only be 20. And I this is me giving their defense and Del Bianco a ton of credit because offensive-wise, Buffalo is really, really good. I'm going to go 11-9 victory, and it'll be the first time since the Colorado matchup in their fourth game of the year that they've held an opponent under 10 goals.
That's fair. I mean, I think we can kind of see that. And even if you go back to a lot of the games that they've had recently, I mean, they lost to Georgia 13-12. That was in overtime. They lost to the Seals 7-6. I mean, what the heck is that score? Even Albany, who was at a really good offense for most of the year. I know they've been fluttering a little bit toward the end of the year here, but they beat Albany 10-9 in overtime. So again, only held Albany to 9 goals. They just beat the Rush 12-10 and then lost to the Rush 12-9. But for the most part, their defense has been doing a really good job, as has Del Bianco. I mean, holding a team as good as the Seals to just 7 goals is really, really good and just kind of shows what they can do when they're locked in.
So it is time for the fastest milestone minute. All these possible milestones can be found on X at Buffalo Sports Co. We post them leading up to each and every game. So if you miss one here and you don't want to listen back, you can check them out there. And away we go. Josh Byrne is 6 loose balls away from setting a new career high. Chase Frazier is 1 assist away from setting a new career high. Josh Byrne is 4 goals away from 200 for his career. He averages 2.25 a game. Kyle Buchanan is 7 shots away from 1,000 for his career. He averages 5.58 a game. Chris Cloutier is 2 goals away from passing Roger Weiss for 9th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Nick Weiss is 1 cause turnover away from tying Kevin Brownell for 2nd place in Buffalo Bandits history. Cam Wires is 2 cause turnovers away from tying Tyler Garrison, Graham Hossack, and Mike Messenger for 9th place in NLL history for rookies. Josh Byrne is 1 goal away from tying John Tavares for 6th place in a Bandit season with 49, and he's 3 away from tying Mark Stainhouse and John Tavares for 3rd place in Buffalo Bandits history with 51. Josh Byrne is 1 point away from tying Ryan Lee for 7th place in an NLL season with 119 points. He is 8 away from tying Mitch Jones for 6th place in an NLL season with 126. Dane Smith is 1 point away from tying Tom Schreiber, Lyle Thompson, Mark Matthews, and John Grant for 10th place in an NLL season with 116. He is 3 points away from tying Sean Evans for 8th place in an NLL season with 118, and 4 away from tying Ryan Lee for 7th in an NLL season, 119. Ian McKay is 6 loose balls away from tying Pat McCready for 10th place in a Buffalo Bandit season with 154. He is 7 away from tying John Tavares for 9th place with 155. He's 8 away from tying Steve Dietrich for 8th place with 156. And he's 11 away from tying John Tavares for 7th with 159. Now the Dane Smith assist watch took a bit of a hit last week. He is averaging 5.31 assists a game. He's on pace for 95.63 assist on the year. He needs to average 6 assists over the next 2 games to break the assist record.
Which is not what we were looking for.
No, that's last week. 1 assist definitely took a major hit.
Yeah. What did I say? He's got to stop scoring. And we went over this. I mean, last time he had 5 goals and 7 assists. That was okay. This 5 goals, 1 assist, it's selfish, like you mentioned, and it's just not going to stand on at least this podcast. But even looking at all the stats, we're running a bit long, so I'm just going to kind of throw this out there. But Jeff Teat, we think, is one of the best scorers in the entire league. Even Josh Byrne, right there with him for goals this year and points, but goals mainly as well as kind of looking at, and they're at 51 and 48 respectively. And just to kind of look back at 2016, Dane Smith, who put up 72. I mean, it's just ridiculous what he was able
17
to
and
do.
or 72 and 16 games, I believe it still was
I think
back
it's
then.
18.
Oh,
Unless
was it
this is
18
wrong.
that
I
year?
don't know. This says 18 for a while. We'll have to look at when that switched, but just crazy. Crazy. I mean, Josh Burns been lighting it up all season. Teat, I know, has struggled a bit
It
here and
was
there,
18.
but still like 20 goals off with only two games to go. Just the pace and the seasons he has had. But yeah, he just needs what did I say? He had to do like nine-ish assists or something each time. What's he need? 15 total? He needs
Yes.
15 to get to 100. So we got a 7 and a 7 and an 8.
An 8.
All right.
Yeah.
So
It's possible.
No more
It's
goals.
possible.
No more goals. Stop that nonsense.
It was 18 because they switched from 16 to 18 in the 2014 season.
That's
so,
what I'm saying. But
you're
still incredible.
NLL Outlook, a lot of implications this week. Philly versus Colorado. Philly beats Colorado, or a few other things happen. The slim odds that Colorado has dry up. They face Friday at 9 p.m. Rochester, trying to keep their season alive, go to Toronto Saturday at 7:30. San Diego versus Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan needs to win to keep their life, their season breathing. Saturday at 9 p.m. Colorado, once again, second game in 2 days, goes to Las Vegas Saturday at 10 p.m. New York goes to Vancouver. Major playoff implications in this one, Saturday at 10 p.m. And then another Sunday game, Albany versus Panther City, Sunday at 5 p.m. If Buffalo wants a home playoff game, they need to win out, and Georgia needs to lose their last game, or Albany needs to lose their last two. That is the only way Buffalo can jump those two teams because of tiebreakers in the standings.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking for. I mean, Albany plays New York the last week. So, I mean, they have two teams that they're facing that are trying to scratch and claw their way into the playoffs. So I think that's really big for Buffalo's chances. And then Rochester versus Georgia is the last game for Georgia. Georgia's home for that one. I think Rochester, I don't know what the heck happened to that team. They really fell off a cliff here, but they've had some huge sparks every once in a while. So I feel like we want Rochester to win, so they think they're still in it. So they have to try super hard against Georgia, because I think that is the better path if the Bandits win their last two. But more than anything, take care of business for the Bandits, and let the rest fall into place at this point. Just win this week and clinch your playoff spot. I mean, with how this season has gone, and at one point it was looking a little sketchy and a little bit rough, but I mean, clinch your ticket, punch it, and go from there.
Phil, is there anything else you would like to add to this episode before we shut it down and you take the elevator up to the press box for the final game of the year?
I'm all good. I just hope they have some good snacks up there this week.
Popcorn and rock solid ice cream bars.
That's what I'm looking for.
All right. Well, on our next episode, we will cover this game, Buffalo versus Calgary. We'll go over the two Sabres games, still on the docket. They face Dallas. No, I don't even know who on Saturday, and they're facing Washington 2-1. They're up at the end of the second. Whoop-de-doo. Then we'll do the fourth installment of Real Bill, Fake Bill on Monday's episode. So we'll see you all there. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room and Mr. Sizzles for sponsoring this show and this episode. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Phil's article dropped on Tuesday. My article dropped on Thursday. Subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, bye-bye.